A rivalry is born between Magomed Ankalaev and Yuri Prochazka. These two just started trading jabs following Ankalaev's successful title win against Alex Poatan Pereira. Not physical jabs, not literal jabs, but figurative jabs, verbal jabs on Twitter and also through Yuri Prochazka's Ariel Helwani interview. And this honestly sets up like a good rivalry for the future. I already said a rivalry is born. But now there's some bad blood between these two, which honestly I blame Ali Abdelaziz for this, because Ali is always on his fighters' Twitters and chirping on their behalf, especially if it's these fighters from the Caucasus region who can't speak English. You always see Ali speaking on his fighters' behalf and then giving them a bad rep, making them look bad. But basically, this is how it all started. Yuri Prochazka said, "Congrats to Magomed Ankalaev. Beautiful pressure. Most of people don't like it, but you won the title for now. At Alex Pereira, last dance." Now, at first reading this, I'm like, damn, Yuri was just being complimentary. There was no need for Ank to catch a stray. But then in reading the most of people don't like it, I know he's referring to Ank taking the path of least resistance and being a boring grappler or cage hugger. Even though Ankalaev primarily won that fight through outstriking Alex, he almost knocked him out in round 2, and he didn't hold him against the cage like that until the 4th and 5th to mitigate any chance Alex might have of rallying late to try and make up for, being behind on the scorecards. But this is what Magomed Ankalaev had to say. "I think you are a fraud, and so many guys deserve it more than you. You need to go back and win some fights." Okay, Ali. But this statement couldn't be any more untrue. How are there more guys more deserving than Yuri? The only one more deserving than Yuri is the one guy ahead of him in Alex Pereira, who's the only man in the UFC to beat Yuri. Yuri's 5-2 in the UFC octagon. The only man to defeat him was Alex Pereira. And Alex is deserving more so than Yuri because he is a former dominant champion, 3 title defenses, all-time great. He should get a second chance automatically, given his accolades and, given his status. He should be the one to be thrown in there with Ankalaev, not Yuri. But if not Alex, if something should happen to Pereira, if he gets injured or plans change, if there's any alternate for Alex, Yuri is that guy. Yuri could even be a backup for Ankalaev Pereira too, and he should be. He's the number 2 contender. He is a former champion. And every time he's lost to Pereira, ×2, he's bounced back between losses and came back with impressive wins via stoppage each time to defend and solidify his top 3 ranking, his top 3 position in the division. You know what I mean? Like, he defended his number 2 contender status against Rakic when he lost to Pereira the first time, earning him a second shot. And before the first Pereira fight, he was 3-0 in the UFC octagon. He had won the title against Glover after only having 2 fights in the UFC, and he lost the belt via injury. So of course he's going to get another shot because he never truly lost the belt. And I think it was fair to give him another shot at Pereira after beating Rakic because, he did well against Alex, and it was a good fight. So the rematch made sense, even though on paper you probably should have given it to Ank over Yuri, and also circumstances kind of benefited Yuri because UFC 303 needed saving, and Yuri was ready to answer the call to fight on short notice on June 29th, and so was Pereira, not Ankalaev. So that makes sense. But then even coming off the second loss to Pereira, Yuri came back and knocked out Jamal Hill, and he's ranked number 2. So who is more deserving than Yuri Prochazka? The man with 27 knockouts was literally on a 13-fight unbeaten streak before the Pereira fight, and fights even, and he's like, 17-2 in his last 15? He's 15-2, in his last 17 bouts, if my math is correct. So he is more deserving than anyone. Jan Blachowicz, what has he done? He's done nothing since losing to Pereira. Jamal Hill, 2-fight losing streak. losing streak. Ankalaev, 3-fight losing streak. Alexander Rakic, 3-fight losing streak. Olberg, he's on a win streak, but he has to prove himself against Blachowicz later this month. And if he can win, he's in title contention. But to get there, he's going to have to get through Prochazka if Prochazka doesn't just wait in line for the winner of the rematch between Ankalaev and Prochazka. The winner of Ankalaev and Pereira too, my bad. But this was Yuri Prochazka's clapback. Yuri Prochazka said, Magomed Ankalaev can think whatever he wants, but I know the only person who's a fraud is him. When I met him in the UFC Performance Institute in Las Vegas, he was there. He was very nice. Well, of course, because it's Ali running his Twitter and speaking for him. Ankalaev isn't an asshole like that. I mean, he can be smug, and at the UFC 313 presser, he did show some good trash-talking skills, but I don't think he would catch a stray like that the way Ali was doing. And it's very obvious when Ali's writing on these guys' Twitters, but here's what else Yuri had to say. He won the title. I'm going to put on the Yuri accent again. He won the title against the worst performance of Alex Pereira. He's the only fraud person here. Right now, he's a champion, but nobody respects that he's a champion. Damn, that's a good clapback from Yuri Prochazka. And this makes me even more excited for a potential bout between these two in the future. But my thoughts on what Yuri had to say here, that no one respects Ank as the champion, I don't know if that's true. I think the only people who don't respect him as the world champion are just salty Pereira fanboys who can't accept the fact that he was beaten fair and square by the better man who's from the Caucasus region, a Dagestani, and we know there's this whole anti-Dagestani biased narrative against all Dagestani fighters. People love to hate people who are Dagestan. Like, Dagestani people are considered burdens because they don't have the most fan-friendly style and they always beat fan favorites. Like Islam Makhachev beat Charles Oliveira, beat Alexander Volkanovski twice, beat Dustin Poirier, 3 beloved superstars in the game. And if Gaethje gets the next shot, well, he's the next victim on Islam's list. Khabib Nurmagomedov destroyed Conor McGregor, destroyed Gaethje and Poirier. There's some bitterness against him for that. Now Magomed just beat Alex Pereira, a global fan favorite. So those are the people who don't respect him as champion. But anyone who truly understands mixed martial arts and actually respects the sport and is unbiased respects Magomed Ankalaev as the champion. I respect him as the champion, and honestly, Yuri, you should respect him as the champion because he literally did in one fight what you couldn't do on 2 separate attempts. He beat Alex Pereira once. Now, whatever's going to happen in the rematch is going to happen. That's yet to be seen. But on that night, March 8th, 2025, Ankalaev was successful and put up a way better performance than you ever could in 2 fights. And there's a good chance that Ankalaev might beat you. I'm just saying. But speaking of that fight, I mean, it's very interesting. Prochazka versus Ankalaev. Yuri Prochazka presents a unique challenge to Magomed because unlike Pereira and Rakic, who are very technical and like to maintain this perfect technical style and use a lot of footwork and backing up, Yuri's not going to take a step back. Yuri Prochazka, he will go forward. I don't really think the threat of the takedown is going to be a factor. And I think Yuri does have a power advantage. Ankalaev has a speed and precision advantage, but if Yuri can make it a wild slugfest, if he can get in and get hands on Ankalaev, there's potential he could put Magomed away. We've seen this time and time again. You could have a technical advantage over Yuri, but if you don't have a full-on power advantage like Alex, you're not going to fully shut him down. And if Ankalaev does not chin him, which he probably won't because he's not as powerful as Alex, it's going to be a long night for Magomed Ankalaev. And stylistically, Yuri Prochazka does have a very good shot, but on paper, Ank should win because he is more technically sound on the feet. His footwork and defense are good. His countering is good. He does have the advantage over having the win over Pereira. But Yuri Prochazka, in that last fight against Hill, he's shown some improvements. He showed that he improved his defensive striking, his head movement, his counter punching. So if Yuri can further build off those improvements, man, it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. But yeah, I don't know if I agree with Yuri Prochazka being a fraud like Ankalaev says, because Yuri is a former champ at the end of the day. He's only lost to Alex Pereira, no one else. It's not like other guys went on to beat him. It's not like he lost to Hill, Rakic, and everyone else. He only lost to Pereira, who's one of the best fighters ever and was the best fighter in the light heavyweight division. And again, those 13 fights in a row leading into him winning the championship and then bouncing back between those Pereira losses. That does stand for something, but hopefully this fight does take place at some point and hopefully for the title. But in that case, with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who would you guys see winning this fight? Like and subscribe and peace out.